Welcome to Success Science, where we unlock the secrets to achieving your full potential and living a life of health, wealth, and success. Hello, I'm Dinesh. I'm a biotechnologist and an MBA graduate from Melbourne Business School. In this series of videos, we'll be talking weight management and why it is important to manage weight correctly. So, in the last episodes, we've discussed about how body has this capability to store all the excess energy that comes in comparison to a car, and what happens if we don't manage it. And then we spoke about goals in life and how we have to use our body's hormones and our body itself to use those opportunities God gives us to achieve those goals. In this episode, we'll discuss about body. Body has muscles, bones, organs, water, and fat. That's all body is all made up of. We'll discuss specifically about muscles and bones, what happens if we do not consume complete nutrition, and what type of nutrition and foods we'll have to focus in order to keep our muscles and bones healthy. Without any further ado, let's get into it.
You ready? Let's go. Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all.
In our mind map, we'll be going down the rabbit hole of body, particularly muscles and bones. Now, if you look, as we have discussed in our previous episodes, muscles and bones, they are really important. They form critical aspects of our overall health and well-being, not just now, all the way up until our age after 60 and 70. Now, in this chart, I've clearly shown you that muscles and bones, they tend to develop until the age of 15 to 20. That's when they stabilize. And from the age of 35s to 40s, you will be losing your muscle mass and muscle strength. Muscle mass, particularly at a rate of about 1% every year. Muscle and bone density. Muscle strength, you'll be losing at least 2 to 4% of your muscle strength every year. So by the time you get to an older age, you will be losing most of the muscle strength, and with that you might struggle sitting down on the floor for an extended period of time, or having to take stairs and having to do some lifting, etc., etc. As you can see here, with lack of proper nutrition and lack of care and management, your muscles and bones, they tend to deplete, not just muscles and bones and your organs. And by the time you reach your 50s plus, then you might have to rely on other techniques such as dialysis, etc., etc., to keep your body going when it comes to organs that have deteriorated completely. And people with weaker muscles and bones will struggle to live on their own. They might rely on support when they have to get up, walk, get down the stairs, get up the stairs, and so on. Now, here in this scientific article, you can clearly see that bone density increases in response to physical loading. So what this article essentially is saying is, if there is no mechanical stimuli or physical loading, that means if you're not performing some sort of exercise or some sort of lifting weights, then the bone density will eventually deplete, and that will cause to weaker bones and more fragile bones as you're getting older. Physical activity is known to have profound impact on muscle mass and strength. Inactivity is shown to lead to loss of muscle mass and strength at any age. So starting if you're in your mid-20s, if you're not working out, if you're not having proper nutrition, possibly you're already losing your muscle mass and strength. Muscle and bone aging is a phenomenon that results in significant morbidity and mortality in older populations. So as you're getting older, then you might face severe consequences. Now, the most common factors here, as you can see, is poor nutrition. Nutrition is something that we underestimate, but the cumulative effect will have some irreversible impact when a person is at the age of 60 or 65. At that age, if you really want to do something also, it's not that easy that your muscle and bones will start to repair and build and so on. Therefore, the best thing to do, or the best strategy to engage on, is to actually look after your muscles and bones, give them proper training, mechanical stimuli, which involves weight training and walking. Walking alone is an excellent exercise, just normal walking. Now, that in itself keeps most people in good shape. Long walks are really good. And look, for that fact, you can even walk in your apartment from one corner to the other. Yeah, I do that. Whenever I'm having calories, if I'm going over my calorie limit, then I just walk in the apartment from one corner to the other, maybe 20, 30 times. And that will actually provide some mechanical stimuli to my legs and core. Not just that, it is also burning all those excess calories that I've consumed. Now, diet. What type of diet we need to focus on? For bones, high calcium plus vitamin D is the best. You tend to get vitamin D from natural sunlight. The best thing you can do in the morning is to go out and get at least 20 minutes to 30 minutes of direct morning sunlight exposure. Going that into your eyes and through the skin, you will get good enough amount of vitamin D. If you're still lacking on vitamin D, you can rely on supplements. And calcium, you can have, there are several foods such as cheeses and dairy based products that will give you calcium. Now, vitamin D in itself has the most profound benefits, one being better sleep. You would not realize that the morning sunlight exposure, 20 to 30 minutes, that would give you really good sleep in the night. Now, also it builds your immunity, your mood gets enhanced, and then you'll have more energy throughout the day. It helps in calcium and phosphorus absorption, and then your weight also, it can help reducing weight by preventing fatigue and making you physically active. 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight exposure is something you can easily incorporate into your day-to-day routine. The first thing you get up, I tend to drink some lemon water with salt just to rehydrate myself, activate my nervous system, and I normally do that standing out in my balcony. That's how I get my sunlight exposure. Once that is done, then you can go for a walk, preferably in a park. If you can get some company, well and good. If not, you can have some of your own time. That 20 to 30 minute walk will also get you the sunlight as well as vitamin D. Now that we have covered the bones aspect, let's focus on the muscle side. Now, muscles, there is something that you can do, which is weight training, but not necessarily. You don't have to go to the gym. Just staying at home, if you do maybe 50 sit-ups and then some push-ups and pull-ups and so on, that in itself is great exercise for all your muscles. Does not take much time to even incorporate, and it's very convenient and easy. Now, from food perspective, you could have some white meat, milk and dairy and nuts, yogurts, cheeses, eggs and tofu. Tofu is soybean curd, through which you can get really good amounts of protein. I personally do not recommend any red meat. I have nothing against red meat or any meat for that fact. I am a huge fan of gut health, and I strongly believe that there is so much gut bacteria has to play in improving our focus. Here is an article from Harvard Medical School. As you can see here, eating red meat has long been linked to high risk of heart disease. So there are certain chemicals which the gut bacteria produces when they feed on that red meat that we consume, and they've done a huge study with over 4,000 people that are aged about 65 and older, and then what they've concluded is for every 1.1 servings of red meat per day, it was linked to 22% higher risk of heart disease. And here is another evidence that red meat could cause cancer, especially bowel cancer. If you can see here, current research shows that there are certain chemicals in red meat and processed meats, both added and naturally occurring, that cause these foods to be carcinogenic. For example, when a chemical in red meat called heme is broken down in the gut, N-nitroso chemicals are formed, and these have been found to damage the cells that line the bowel, which can lead to bowel cancer. These chemicals also form when processed meat is digested. In addition, the nitrite and nitrate preservatives used to preserve processed meat produce these N-nitroso chemicals that can lead to bowel cancer. Now, I'll leave that to your choice whether to incorporate red meat into your diet or not. I personally prioritize my gut health because it is directly linked to focus and performance. Therefore, I do not have any red meat in my diet anymore. Now, the next question is how much protein to consume. As you can see here, if a person is physically active, as per International Society of Sports Nutrition, the recommended amount of protein intake is 1.4 to 2 grams per kilo of body weight per day. That means if you are a 65 kilogram person, then you should be consuming somewhere around 120 to 130 grams of protein. Now, if you're not physically very active, then in order to ensure that you'll maintain your muscle mass, you should at least have, again, 1 to 1.5 grams of protein every day. Typically, I tend to have somewhere around 120 to 140 grams of protein in my everyday diet. Now, as you can see on the screen, this is the breakdown of my foods. I tend to incorporate all the foods that I like. Life is a balance, so I tend to have an ice cream occasionally, and then I would like to have some homemade mom-cooked food. Here is a really delicious black bean tofu salad that I tend to eat occasionally. It has got 47 grams of protein, 29 grams of carbs, and good fats of 28 grams, all coming up to about 595 calories, which is not a lot. This is something really delicious. I tend to have this with some prebiotics and probiotics. Probiotics here are fermented vegetables. I try to make them spicy by adding some fresh chili to it before I'm fermenting. I'll make a complete detailed video on how to ferment vegetables to improve your gut health. I'm hoping that now you understand the significance of protecting your muscles with proper nutrition and mechanical stimuli. Just to recap, every year after the age of 35 plus, you will be losing 1% of your muscle mass and bone density, and anywhere from 2 to 4% of your muscle strength. In order to not rely on others at the age of 60s or 70s to perform basic activities, it is very important that you focus on getting good high protein diet and vitamin D and calcium based foods in order to protect your muscles and bones. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. In the next episode, we'll be covering on fat. Why do we have fat? The history of fat, and what exactly we can do to burn and get rid of that fat. Until next time, take care.